drums and harmony, voices rise in sweet decree. Jawless blend of sonic art, touching souls, a brand new start. Rock and interview, stories shared, chill hangouts, no time spared. From soulful whispers to a roaring sound, music unites on hallowed ground. All things music, a vibrant call for one and all to give their all in this sanctuary where dreams ignite. Music's power burning bright. Rockin' interview, stories shared, chill hangouts, no time spared. From soulful whispers to a roaring sound, music unites on hallowed ground. Glick's house of music, a place to be for every heart, wild and free. Music's embrace, forever strong, a symphony of life all night long.
Strangers come with curious eyes to chase the truth amidst the lies. But we're the ones they never see, still standing where they shouldn't be. Not everyone that comes goes away with a feeling they just can't shake of its dark and twisted history. It's the chance you shouldn't take. You'll never leave Soul's Chapel clean, stains your thoughts and haunts your dreams. You'll feel the pull for all your days, the kind of dark that never fades. Pews are warped, the altar cracked, the bell is gone, but still rings back. At midnight sharp, the dead convene to whisper all the things they've seen. They burn the place to cleanse the land, but evil came with bloodied hands. Fire laughed and turned to smoke, the curse held tight, the town still chokes. You'll run, you'll hide, you'll change your name, but still the chapel knows your shame. It marks your breath, it stains your skin, and waits to call you back again. You'll never leave Soul's Chapel clean. It stains your thoughts and haunts your dreams. You'll feel the pull for all your days, the kind of dark that never fades. It never fades.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. You'll have to excuse me. I'm a little fragile today. As you can tell by my face, I got some sun. I spent the day at the lake yesterday. It was amazing. It was fantastic. Worth the pain I'm in today. Anyways, enough about that. Enough about me. Why is my hat so crooked? I'm not even drinking yet. Anyways, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Glick's House of Music right here on the Nonsensical Network. And you know me, I'm Glick. And if you're not already, go ahead and check us out. We are everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. Shows are live a lot at this point. I don't know what's going on with the schedule. I'll be 100% honest with you guys. Wally's got some personal stuff going on, but I knew those shows. There are 100% shows on Tuesdays, Fridays, Saturdays. So, and then you'll get the random pop-ins where we just decide to pop in and say what's up. So, but check us out. We're everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. Shows are live. Like I said, when they're live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And you can listen anytime, any place, wherever you listen to podcasts at. All at the Nonsensical Network. Or simply go to bio.link/Nonsensical Network. Yeah, it's going to be scrolling right down there at the bottom of your screen all night. What's going on, Chatters Box? What's going on, Benj? What's going on, Brett? Noah's in the building. What's going on? Anyways, I feel like I almost should have saved this guest for Halloween, but nonetheless, this young man coming up to hang out with me tonight, Mr. Bo Haas, has come highly, highly, highly recommended by our very good friends, Roland Jewett and Jake C. Young. So I finally got off my ass and finally made it happen. So enough chit chat about me and about this. Let's talk to Bo. What's going on, Bo?
Howdy. Same old, man. Music every day, 24/7.
Heard that. For those of you guys who don't know who
Yeah,
Bo
you
is,
know,
Bo's
it wasn't. Your head wasn't crooked. Your head was a little off center.
I couldn't figure it out. It was driving me crazy. It's like one of those OCD things. Like, what's going on? And then, of course, the camera's mirrored, so I'm.
There's nowhere to hide, man.
Yeah, I'm a mess. I'm a hot mess over here. Don't mind me. I'm gonna. For those of you guys who don't know who Bo is, Bo, you've been in the music business for a long time, haven't you? You've been doing a little bit of everything, haven't you?
Yes, I've been doing this since the 17th century, Glick.
Nice. Early 17th century.
I go back a bit. My first band was called War, and my parents came out and saw that and said, "No, you can't have that." But we had a peace sign on our drums, so we used peace. And that was 1966. So I go back a little bit.
Oh wow! Holy! I didn't figure you to be that old. Not that you're old.
No,
but...
I didn't figure to be that old too until I looked at my birthday. That wasn't good.
Music show.
Huh?
Music show.
Yes.
We got 1,000 lunches packed within an hour.
Nice. Like, I'm not doing anything here. My daughter wants to come in and start talking to me.
I wanted to
Right,
tell you
that's how it works.
in an hour.
You can tell me later. Don't have kids. Apparently. Yeah, apparently at 20 years old, she's too old to be put up for adoption. So,
Right. Between I had 6 and my wife had 2, and so we have either 16 or 18 grandchildren between us. So,
wow.
And when you get around, it ends up getting around, you know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Sometimes they don't realize that. Most of my shows, they can when I'm live, they can pop in and interrupt me. They haven't quite figured out Tuesdays is a different dynamic, trying to be a little bit, they don't care. They're just like, hey, Dad's sitting at his desk. He's probably not doing anything important. Let's go bother him.
Yeah. I'm surprised my cat hasn't photobombed us yet.
He might get pissed that you shut his curtain.
You know what? He'll stand there and meow and give me the business until I open it up for him. It's like having the children with a tail.
Yeah, right. Well, you know that
He's
that old saying that's been going around for years. You know, cats are assholes. So
yeah, I heard a great analogy that a dog, when you get a dog as a puppy and all that stuff, they see you do everything for them and feed them and potty them and walk them and you drive a car and you have all this technology and they think these people must be God. And a cat
yeah,
in the exact same situation thinks I must be God.
100% true and accurate about cats. Cats, we are there to serve them. You know?
Right? I'm sure of it.
Yeah. At least in their head, that's how they feel or
Yeah,
think about it.
yeah, he gets real mouthy, man. He gets real mouthy. Whatever he wants, he makes sure he gets. So that's terrible, terrible, terrible.
Nice. It'd be like that sometimes. So I've been listening to some of your music, and I like one of the things I like is you got like a old school, and some of the songs got like an old school country sound. You know, like Hank Senior. You know, some of those like older country guys. But then
Right?
you also do this mix of this spooky, creepy, like the song that we started the show with. You do this mix of like I said, creepy, spooky stuff that I really dig. For you personally, where would you classify your style or genre of music?
I would have to say I am multi-genre and Americana. um, I started out, singing rock and roll, the Beatles, Rolling Stones, Moody Blues, you name that, and did all those garage band things. And then
Mm.
I was a Navy corpsman for a while, and I also sang in the Navy band. So me and the Navy band guys put together our own band, and in Long Beach, California, people still remember it's called Ace of Spades, and we did all Motown. All
Oh,
that
nice.
Motown stuff from back in the man, I got an affinity. I went from rock and roll to Motown, loved every minute of it. And then after the military, I did it with several bands that were what I would call more rockabilly, gut shot, we called it. And we were a bunch of long-haired leaping gnomes wearing no shoes, a hat, and some suspenders, just about it. And so I've sung all the different genres to my heart's desire. And but as a movie buff, my wife and I are both big horror film and sci-fi film nuts. And so I have a vast collection, over 5,000 movies of that sort of thing. And so it's and we love to write themed music. For over 10 years, I did a haunted house on my block for all the kids in the neighborhood. Man, it was a zoo. There's hundreds of people out there going through my haunted house and stuff. And so, I'm kind of all over the place. If I like it, I'm doing it.
Hell
And,
yeah.
and I love country and Western, man, is like comfort food. It's like biscuits and gravy.
Oh yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
biscuits and
so,
gravy.
where I got that, of course, I listened to all them fellas. In fact, the first album I cut was with a bunch of famous superstars, like Ray Pillow and, Charlie Louvin and all those famous singers from back in the 60s. And
Oh,
so
wow.
my first album was with them. I got invited to sing with those, called Nashville Stars of Country Music, on Kid Cody Records back in the day. And then,
Wow.
since then, then I did every person who plays in a band does cover tunes. So I've been
Oh yeah.
singing cover tunes since, yeah. So I've been singing cover tunes since 1966. And, if I like it, I'm doing it. If it's the Eagles, I'm doing it. If it's the Moody Blues, I'm doing, if it's Ray Charles, I'm doing it. If I like it, that's what it is. You're either, it's like saying you're a country guitar player. Well, what else can you do? I am a professional vocalist and provide myself on any challenge, whether it's an opera or a scary movie. So it's funny how we came all about doing Daylight to Dark, which, by the way, we just remixed the original title song for that today. And so that's on its way to Jake and stuff.
Nice. Yeah, you. It's just all I seen scrolling through Facebook. Yeah, you brought that up. You even did Bo Hosta's Broadway and whatnot. And I'm like,
Yeah, I did. I have a whole, half the time I wear cowboy hat and boots. I'm pretty comfortable in that. And the other half of the time I wear a tuxedo and do Frank Sinatra. The
nice.
more things you can do, the more things you get paid to do.
Yeah.
If you only can do one thing, you're not a general contractor. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? You can either do plumbing or electricity, or you can do framing. I have prided my vocals on being able to do it all.
Yeah. Well,
Um, and, and so I do. And so I do.
Jack of all trades, master of none type deal.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. You know, that's Batman. He had his utility belt, man. That utility belt, he was able to do all kinds of stuff with it. So yeah, why
Yeah,
not?
my utility belt is my vocals because I'm tenor, baritone, and bass. I'm a contralto. I have been blessed with that gift, and by God, I'm going to use it.
Oh yeah. What up, Chaka? Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, if it's something that you like, and like you said, if it's something you like and it's something you can do, why not? I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? you know.
Right.
So, do you have any artists that growing up that that kind of influenced you or swayed you into going to music? So they're like, oh man, I really like the way this person sings. I could do that. I want to do that one day.
It's funny because in the 50s, Buddy Holly and the Crickets came along, and then of course Elvis Presley came along, and then I became a huge fan of Paul McCartney and John Lennon's vocals in the Beatles, and they were huge influences on me. And well, my daddy liked to listen to country and western, so I got to hear some of the, like you said, Hank Senior,
Mhm.
and all the fellas, and I like it all. I can't help hearing music that I like and saying, yeah, I like that one. Some music I listen to and I think that ain't for me.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I don't do hip hop, but yet today I had to do a hip hop entry song for another radio station, and we wrote it and we did it, and cadence is a son of a gun, man. I went from singing a Russian translation song this morning by a famous guy named Vladimir Vysotsky. So I'm listening to it in Russian and I'm having to sing it in English. And then I went to a hip hop song, and then we jumped back in. I had to do Daylight to Dark re-introduction, and man, my cadence was really messing with me. But if you take your time, if you take your time, it's like in any instrument, you can play it fast, medium, or slow, and drop it down a bit, to make it easier for you. Whatever you got to do. The studio takes no prisoners. You can't hide from the studio, man. It makes every glaring little thing out in front. It's like, oh, we got to redo that part.
Yeah. Got to redo it. Does that I would imagine that being in the studio has got to take its toll on you, especially if you're trying to get that right sound and you've either played like a guitar riff or done like one section of the song of vocals like multiple times trying to find that one sound just to go back and go, you know what, the first take was the best.
Yeah, and it's like anything else that we tell people in the studio. First of all, the studio has never been a burden for us. In fact, it's been a savior because we actually get to produce our style, our music, and what we want to do, and not rely on other people. Oh, that cat's bugging me. And so, it was hard for me as a country and western singer to go into a place and the guy's wearing, a 3-colored beanie, and he's only done hip hop and reggae. I don't think he could record and engineer country because he has no backbone in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm the same way. I don't have a hip hop or a rap background. That era passed me by. I went right past that. And so consequently, I tell people, gee, I do everything but that, excuse me. So
yeah.
Having said that, the studio is actually a blessing what you got to do is, you don't want to have a guy come in and he's paying you $50 an hour to record, or look, here's a tail to record, and they don't come in ready to go. And as a recording studio, you don't care. You got them on the clock for this much money for this much time, but that ain't right. So I tell people all the time, look, come prepared. When I go to do a song, I practice it about 100 times over and over and over and over and over and over until I'm sick of it, singing it in my sleep. And then when I come in, I'm more prepared. I already know what key I need to be in, whether it's up or down. What my tempo has got to be, because otherwise it don't sync up well enough with the music, and you end up doing more work if you're not prepared to do work right the first time. And by God, I hate to do something twice, man. I really do. So there's a lot of songs that from my past where, I'm kind of a one-take wonder.
Yeah.
And it's because I did 100 takes before I got on the recording end of it. So that really is the key, is to be prepared and do the work. Sometimes people think work is a 4-letter word, but really, man, it solves so many problems. Look at this. Look at this nonsense. This is a 19-pound brute, and he's gonna want to be up in his dang window.
Yeah,
His Royal Highness. Driving me nuts. Yeah. And he loves people, Glick. He loves people like nobody's business, and he kills everything else. we live 4,000 foot up in the mountains. We're completely off the grid. And my gate from my driveway is a half a mile long, and then it's 2 miles to the mailbox and stuff like that. And so we're completely off the grid, and so we're surrounded by wild animals. I mean, cougars, bears, moose, wolves, you name it. I got problems with it. And so sometimes you decide to go walking. You got to carry a piece with you, and but he kills everything. I mean, as big as him, he'll bring a rabbit home as big as him, a grouse. He's an astonishing. I call him a bird murderer.
He looks like he's up there, up to no good. He got his little tail flip.
He's a Bengal and Tabby mix. He's 19 pounds. So.
Oh wow! Yeah.
No, he's Mr. Beefcake.
Sometimes living in the city, you can't go outside without carrying a piece. So you got
right. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, depending on where you live.
There's a reason I'm up here in the mountains.
Yeah, that's my dream, is to just be off. Like I always joke, if I ever hit the lottery, people are like, I'm doing this. I'm gonna go buy a plane and da 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 da. I'm like, I'm gonna go buy like 500 to 1,000 acres somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's what we did.
And just be happy.
Yeah,
not be bothered with anybody.
Right, that's what we did too. We went up and bought a bajillion acres in the middle of nowhere, right in between the corner of Idaho, Canada, and Washington State. We're 35 miles from the border. And nice. There's nothing between me and Canada except trees and animals. And and I still feel like this is the safest place I've ever been in my life.
Right. It's your own little slice of heaven, man. You get up there and
yeah, it really is.
And if somebody does mess with you, well, it's gonna be awful hard to find the body.
Yeah, right. That's what the sheriff said too. He told me people disappear up here in the mountains all the time, and so I put up a sign that says, if you want to break into my property, stand right here, get right with Jesus, and tell him you're on your way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's 100% accurate too, man. Like, because we're a long way from civilization. And
I saw a movie called. You always see these scary movies called like Last House on the Left in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. That's me. And so, if you're not prepared, just like music, right? You end up paying the price.
Yeah, exactly. And one of those things, 9 times out of 10, nobody's going to know you were here. So they're not going to come looking for you. Because you weren't supposed to be here in the first place.
35 minutes away.
Yeah.
That's the sheriff's 35 minutes away, and my 9mm is 600 feet per second.
Yeah, right. Do the math. No, yeah, what you're talking about with coming to the studio, even though they paid for their time and they've paid to be there and stuff, like you said, that's still got to be so nerve-wracking if somebody shows up and they're just completely unprepared and don't know what they're doing and don't really know where they're going. I get that sometimes when we do some shows on this network. It's like, I'm sitting here, I've told you guys for 2 weeks, we've talked about it for 2 weeks, and then we go live and it's just like, it's like, what's
Right.
going on?
Right.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a conversation. That means two people.
Yeah. Like, trust me, if you don't want to talk, I can look at this wall and have a much better conversation.
Yeah, right. And that's not been a problem of mine. I've been a front man for like forever.
Nice.
And so, that's your job. That's your job. So
I was going to say, looking at your social media stuff, it looks like you're a showman. Like you like to be, front and center. You like to have that attention and stuff like that. Like I said, I've seen some of your guys' posts from Halloween. I love Halloween. It's my favorite time of year. So, seeing some of that stuff, I got excited to talk to you. And then listening to some of your music, I got excited to talk to you because I love Halloween. I love everything to do with Halloween, the music, the movies, the costumes, the scaring people, everything.
Man, I'm going to send you a CD called "Music from the Haunted House," and
Okay.
so later on, you PM your private address to me, and I'll ship you one out right away. What happened was we we got invited to offer up a couple of songs for Daylight to Dark, and we did like 8 of them, and then we included a couple of our friends who had done some. We've done Halloween videos for 5 or 6 years consecutive now too. They're on YouTube and all that. A lot of fun. And so we directed that, but we did a couple of those, and I turned them loose on Roland, and Roland said, "Hey man," he said, "you know what you guys need to do? You guys need to do a Halloween album." And so I thought, okay, maybe. And I looked it up, and can you believe there's all these Halloween compilation albums, everything from the Witch Doctor to the Insane Asylums and whatever these things are. But there's never been one group or one band that has done an entire album of all original Halloween themed music. It's never been done before, ever. And so right about that period of time, this is crazy. People don't believe me. I don't care if they believe me or not. We had an Aurora Borealis event up here in the mountains, and it was beaming down colors and sound, lighting up the trees and the ground around us. And it went on for hours. It was I looked straight up, Glick, and there was like a spinning color of circle, like oil on water.
Yeah.
It was so stunning. I stood there, bugs probably flew in my mouth because my mouth was wide open, and it was making a noise like a tea kettle way off in the distance. And I don't know if I'd ever heard that before with these auroras. And we went on a songwriting binge. In about 6 weeks, we wrote 150 original songs, and across all different vast genres, from country to. But all of a sudden, we were flooded because I love theme music. Whether it's St. Patrick's Day or
Nice.
or Christmas or all these things. And we and both my superstar wife, the amazing Cindy Lou, and that's a wonderful story. I'll make it short and sweet in a little bit if you have time.
Yeah.
And she loves horror. She actually likes more gory films than I do.
Yeah, I'm not always down. I'm not always down for the gore, but there are some movies that have just the right amount of gore to them, and it's
right.
Perfect. Yeah,
right. Some of them scared the snot out of me, and so I'm like, yeah, I can't watch that no more. I go to bed bad, But other ones, I like the real creepy ones from back in the day. And so we got on this to be like, okay, let me see, what are we going to do right there? We got it on a piece of paper. I wrote ghost, Dracula, werewolf, mummy, creature from the Black Lagoon. Then, I just wrote down, and then from each one of those, a song just materialized for us. The lyrics came and the music came and the creep factor came. And so we wrote 20 all original songs. and many of them ended up on the movie Daylight to Dark. And when
Nice.
he's actually remastering it and using a lot of those songs to fill in dead spots on the movie, you got to have that. Music will really dictate. Soundtracks really will dictate how a movie will flow. And because we're big fans, because we're big fans of the genre, we thought, man, this is plug and play for us. And so there's some great songs on there. One of my favorite ones is "You'll Be the Death of Me." Another one is weirder than hell. It came out about the creature from the Black Lagoon. And wait till you get your paws on that. You'll freak out because I do all the voices and all that stuff. And it's a kick in the pants. So we did that. And then, of course, Jake Young said I might have another project coming up called Soul's Chapel. Turns out to be a real place. It's one of the most haunted places in America, apparently. And people go there and they come back freaked out, and
Yeah, him and I talked about it because it's there in Kentucky where he's at, and I said we got a place like that here in Ohio. It's called Helltown.
Really?
And then we started sharing the stories about each city. Helltown's now an abandoned town, but it's still there. You can still go. What's left of it? We were talking and sharing stories about it because he started telling me about the movie, and I'm like, I'm already 100% invested in this movie because it sounds great. Now that I've been listening to your music, and I love the song that we played at the beginning that you did for Soul's Chapel, I'm like, man, I'm all in for this. Like, let's go.
Yeah, it's really funny because I wrote that song and I actually sang it myself, and I started thinking, man, I think this will fit Rollin better than me. And so we sent it to him, and he immediately fell in love with it. And he almost sang it like myself, but with his key, his inflection. And that thing will creep you out. You listen to it enough, man. You'll never leave Soul Chapel clean.
It's got a like little bit of a hint, a little bit of that eerie kind of ominous feeling, like "You'll Never Get Out of Harlan Alive," the old bluegrass song about Harlan, Kentucky.
Right.
That's what it kind of reminded me of, but more on the horror. Like that song was written because that's the cold hard truth about Harlan County. You're 9 times out of 10 you're not leaving Harlan County alive. Where this is more the supernatural, creepy, like, ooh, oh man, I got goosebumps just talking about it.
Yeah. And after we wrote it and we recorded it, I started thinking, wait a minute, something's missing. And for me, scary stuff has to have a cello in it. So, our keyboard you see behind me, she's a big old Yamaha, blah, blah, blah. It does everything. It does phony voices. It does saxophone. It does all this killer stuff that we use in the studio to cheat with. And, or I should say, compose music. And so I started messing with the, bringing in the slow, ominous cello part. And that did it. That sent that thing to the moon, And then I thought, okay, now I'm sending this to the fellas, and of course, it's a big deal, man.
No, yeah, I mean, like I said, like you said, you think back at some of our favorite movies, even like the horror movies. The music is huge. I mean,
John Carpenter wrote a lot.
Yeah, where would Halloween be without that damn that piano, that Halloween theme? Where would Nightmare on Elm Street be without that silly kids rhyme that is played throughout? And then of course it's got the creepy music that's played along behind it. But then in any action movie that you watch, a lot of times, it's like if you're into like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you take Zeppelin out of a Thor movie, Thor's kind of boring.
Right. It can really, it's not only a mood setter, but it can be a time machine in your own mind. It'll make you go back to certain things. Like you said, John Carpenter, dun, 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 or the tubular bells from the original Exorcist.
Yeah.
That stays in your craw, man.
I still get
And
creeped out
so
every time I hear that.
yeah, that whole album creeped me out when I had it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And so we rely on our experience and our
Please.
passion for the genre, you know.
Mhm.
And so it really leads us right into what we naturally love to do.
Yeah. No, I love it. Like I said, and you mentioned Cindy Lou, who is equally just as talented. Your wife. I've heard her on a few. I got to hear few songs with her in them, and I was like, oh, all right. Yeah, she adds a little something extra there for you. I like it. I dig it.
You know, I took that wallflower and she was like, when we first got together over a decade ago, she's like, "Oh, you're gonna leave me behind." I thought, well, I ain't got that program, you know. How about you sing some backup in my band? And she hadn't played guitar for a long time. She hadn't played the keyboards for some time, but the girl has an astonishing sense of harmony and can harmonize with anybody. She's the queen of harmony. She really is, and done
Nice.
a lot of harmony with a lot of other artists. We've done over 50 artists in 5 countries now, and if it's not Cindy
Wow.
Lou backing him up, it's me backing him up. You know. And then so she started coming into her own. I started sticking around in front of the band and let me go back and play the bass or the congas or whatever while she sang. And you know, she hates to do interviews, but she comes alive on stage. She really does.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, it's like, okay, well, it's time for you to start doing your own albums. And so she's done 4 or 5 full albums of her own, a couple of originals. Her last one that we just finished is called "What Kind of Love Are You Writing About?" And that came from the Aurora Borealis. All of those songs did. And so she's really the queen of harmony. She has several genres of her own. She's like Joan Jett and Carole King rolled into one.
Oh wow. That's a hell of
Honest to
a.
God,
That's
she
a.
can do rock. Yeah, and she loves blues too, so she can sing the blues. Man, it's amazing.
Yeah. Man, now you're talking my language. I love the blues. I love the old R&B Motown. You know, like man,
Right.
like that is. I find myself put into a kind of a pigeonholed into like country and rock. You know, but you know what a lot of people don't know is I tease and say I'm a music whore. I'm a big old slut for music. I listen to everything.
Right.
I love all the
Right.
genres and eras. A couple people look at me funny when I say that I love the 50s and 60s. I was like, you haven't lived until you sat back and had a few beers and listened to the 50s or the 60s. Like just,
Right.
and I'm not talking like the
You know, how can you
the
say you
peace.
haven't-
Yeah, like not that peace,
you know, how
love,
can you
hippie, acid rock stuff. You know, just that cool Motown.
man, it's all good.
Yeah. Oh no, I love that stuff. Don't
There
get me
was a
wrong.
band. There was a band in the early 70s that kind of broke a lot of norms, really, I think, before the Eagles blew up, called Bread. And,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, they did some astonishing, more folksy type stuff, you know, Baby, I'm a Want You and all that. I love all of that stuff, ballads and beyond, you know. And so it's funny how we have just decided, well, we'll just do what comes natural. And so she was a professional photographer and I had done a lot of radio and television voiceover. I was a big time cable company director in Southern California for a number of years. And so we started putting our different talents together. And the next thing you know, man, she started to excel as an engineer. And I said, well, have you heard of, Dr. Herbie Hancock? Have you heard of the fellow that did Wall of Sound for Motown? Have you heard, Dr. George Martin that did the Beatles? And she dove in there like a pit bull and studied these guys for thousands of hours. And then I said, I think there's one thing missing. I said, have you ever listened to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon? She said, no. So I sat her down and I made her listen to it from beginning to end. And by God, she immediately picked up on some of the nuances that it takes to develop albums to like a really full sound. And now she's been up. She just won Nashville Broadcast Radio's Engineer of the Year for 2025. I'm so proud of her.
Awesome.
And she's up for the same thing with the International Singer and Songwriters Association in August this year and all that. But for us, the real awards and the real rewards have come from producing great music for a lot of people around the world, and really embracing the camaraderie of musicians, trying to create a team effort, rather than everybody going off in different directions like camphor on water, man. And because you never know how you can put two people together. Now they're Rodgers and Hammerstein. They're Bernie Taupin and Elton John. You just don't know until you mix chemicals. Chemical A and chemical B, you get chemical C, and hopefully it don't blow up, set your hair on fire, running down the street like Michael Jackson. But with music, if you can if you can set people's hair on fire, you're winning. If they're crying, if they're crying or they're singing along with you, or you're tapping, they get off their feet and they can't help themselves. When you get fannies out of the seats and people singing along with a hook, you win. We wrote a song. Well, I wrote a song called "This Place Ain't All That," and it was about an experience on the road. Another place, it's funny how songs will morph, because I wrote a song, "Now You Done It." It was about me going to smack some jack in the mouth, and it turned out to be, I'm 6'3" and 250. I can handle myself, and so so the dang thing, she goes, "No, you can't do that. That's too mean. That's a mean song." So it switched. The whole thing morphed into me telling a girl, she done all these screwed up, she messed up, she did all these heinous things to me. Now you done it. You're out of here. And so when you're married to a wonderful musician, you get the best of both worlds, because you get ebb and flow, you get yin and yang, so to speak. And she'll keep me from making mistakes.
Yeah, but sometimes there ain't nothing wrong with a good ass whooping song. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And I have some of those in there in this new album.
Every once in a while somebody just crosses that. Yeah, sometimes somebody just crosses that line and they need smacked in the mouth.
Right.
So.
That album is called "Just Do It for Love." But it's funny that we were talking about the blues. We also did a compilation blues album with 4 artists. My cousin Harmonica John, super famous, harmonica blues Americana player, and Cindy Lou, and one of our proteges, Tammy Finley Day, and we did one called "Hoss of Blues." And we did 16 songs, 4 each, and mixed it together, so it was every other one was a guy, girl, and there. Some are originals, and most are covers. But if you like blues, man, I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to send it to you. I swear to God. I love sending music to people. We don't want no money. We just want to. We just want to see them ears light up.
Yeah, man, I love getting new music. I mean, that's the whole purpose of this show, because I only interview indie artists, up and coming artists, local artists, whatever the case may be. I don't try to reach for big names. Now, some people have blown up, not because of my show. They were already on that track before I interviewed them, but they've gotten bigger and they're getting bigger, but they're friends of this show. So it's like one of those things where I know I'll get to have them back again, which will be great. But that's the whole reason of this show, is to introduce people to music that more than likely they haven't heard before. And it's funny because, I'll talk to people and they'll go, you had so-and-so on. That's really not my type of music, but I can't stop listening to it because their music is so good. And I'm like, that's the point. That's the point of this show. And that's what I love, because I find new music every day, that I hadn't heard of before.
The beautiful thing about it is that, if you haven't heard them, you don't know. But also, you're always going to find people who love a song, and then some people do just not their cup of tea. Merle Haggard told me something once upon a time that, he hated this song. Everybody else loved it. And then Frank Sinatra said the same thing, that there was a certain song that he sang. He said, boy, I didn't like singing that song. It was a huge hit for him.
Yeah.
You just don't know what ears it's going to fall on.
Yeah.
Right. And so, the old adage is throw stuff up against the wall, see what sticks, and everybody has a different kind of favorite sound that's comfort music to them that you don't understand, Yeah, once again, Merle said one time that he came off the stage, and this was way back in the day when he was first starting, and this guy ran up to him all wide-eyed and stuff. He thought he was going to have to smack him, and he stuck his hand out. He said, "Oh, thank you for singing about my life." And Merle was like, "Your life?"
Mhm.
And it hit him as an epiphany that a lot of us are going through the same types of things
Yeah.
in the world at the same time, and we all experience a lot of similar circumstances. And so he realized that his music was touching some people just like it touched him.
Yeah.
And that was really important to me to hear. It really was.
Yeah, I joke around and I kid around. Well, I kind of joke around about it, but I always say Jason Aldean is my spirit animal because I
Right.
swear I throw a Jason Aldean song on, or album on, and every song I've lived it or I'm going through it at that present time. I'm a type of person where if I need to clear my head, like yesterday was a nice head clearing thing. I either go
Yeah.
for drives or I find some place on the water and I just hang out and I listen to music. And
Right.
Jason Aldean's always been my go-to. Now I got to shout out Morgan Wallen with this brand new album because holy shit, I listened to that yesterday and it was like one after another. It was like, bro, you're speaking about my current life right now.
Right.
So,
Right.
but it is crazy how music. I don't think a lot of artists realize initially when they write a song or when they do an album that there's going to be either that one song or maybe a couple songs that are just going to hit that audience or hit somebody that's going to listen to it a certain type of way. And they
Yeah.
they might be going through some really bad shit in their life, and that one song just kind of triggers something inside their brain, and it's like, you know
Right.
what? I'm not the only one going through this. There's other people going through it, and it's a choice that I can make whether I stay on this path of where whatever is happening, or if I decide to alternate, my direction. So I think that's a
Yeah.
great
It's
thing
so
about
true.
music.
Yeah. It transcends time and all kinds of different uh, what I would call life situational things happen to all of us to one extreme or another, like a pendulum. And
Mhm.
and if you can write what you feel, you're going to find that other people, more often than not, feel the same way.
Mhm. Yeah, right. Exactly. And it might even not even really have to be anything relatable. It's just something like you said. I'm really curious and excited to hear this Halloween album because I love Halloween, and like you said, you don't get a lot of original. So I'm curious to see where you guys go as far as original Halloween content and music goes. What's going on, Arliss Walker? How you doing, brother? Arliss Walker of the Southern Outlaws, hanging out, saying hello.
There you go. Howdy, howdy.
Um, so I'm excited to hear this album because I've heard everything else before. Now I need something.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready to hear something new.
Yeah. It's nice to be a pioneer in something. And lo and behold, 20 original songs, all Halloween original themed, and nobody else has ever done it in history. You'd think, well, how could that possibly be?
Yeah,
Well, you gotta do the work. Once you stay in a theme, you got to stay in a vein, so to speak, and just follow through with what you feel naturally. So there's some really funny songs on there that Cindy Lou wrote, one called "Don't Ghost Me, Ghost." And no matter what the ghost is doing, she's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, enough of your badass stuff. Go on, do a ghost thing." And she's completely taunting this ghost. And another one I have where the guy has died and he's coming back and he goes, "I'm still haunting you. You can't get rid of me."
Mm.
Just fun stuff, and then some vampire songs because we wanted to make some of those fit for the movie and all that. And we had a ball doing it. We really did. And
Nice.
it's transcended now into a complete score for Soul's Chapel, obviously. And the director's really excited about it. Jake Young told me it's freaking awesome. And so if he feels that way, we think his audience will feel that way. So
Yeah.
he asked us if we'd like to come to a premiere sometime, and we're like, yeah, we're on that plane.
Hell yeah! Would just tell us when and where.
Right, we'll show up.
No, I get that. Now, Jake's such a good dude. We had a really good time when we did the movie watch, and then him and I had a really good time hanging out because he came up on this show. and which is the great thing about this show. Yeah, it's a music show, but if I get opportunities, to interview directors or actors or comedians or whatever, I'm not gonna shut it down. Well, I'm not gonna interview you. This is a music show, you big dummy. Why would you come? But Jake's such a good dude, and he's a
Right.
young guy, and he's super talented, and you know I like to try to do my research on people. So I started watching his movies, and I was able to, talk about the movies. And he was just very eager and excited to get my input on things and stuff like that. So, being connected with Jake and with Rollin, like I said, Rollin's been telling me for a minute that I need to get you on. I'm like, I gotta wait for a break in my schedule, I gotta see what's going on with my schedule. And then and then Jake was getting on me. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get Bo on. I gotta reach out to him.
Jake is perfect example of when you put talent, ambition, and insight all come together.
Yeah.
And he has a direction. He has a plan, and there's nothing stronger than a man with a plan. It's putting one foot in front of the other and know where you want to end up is really important. And a lot of people don't have that visionary feel to them. And then we were talking about, man, what if Jake turns out to be Alfred Hitchcock, for Christ's sake, or Ridley Scott?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's coming. Because he's putting in the body of work first. And all of those things are additive sculpture, man. You get better. You don't get worse from doing more,
And he kind of has.
So we're really excited about working with those fellas.
Yeah, and he kind of has that genre where he wants to go with the psychological horror thriller, type deal, which is, like Daylight to Dark. It's a fun vampire movie. It's not super serious. It's not scary. It's just a fun vampire movie. And we joked around, Jake and I, when we did the watch party, we were kind of semi joking around about, you got to do a sequel. And he's like, yeah, Roland and I kind of been tossing that around. And I was like, and then of course my guys that were with me, my Blaze and Mike, they're like, if you need people to star in the movie, well, then I took it another step forward. I took it another step, and I was like, I need to be the villain in the next movie because y'all did my girl wrong in Daylight to Dark. I said you did her real dirty, and I got to come back and get vengeance for her and take you on. And he was like, I already had the cowboy look, but you would make a mean biker looking guy because you're big and you got your beard and everything. I said, whatever, but I'm taking you out, Jay.
Or attempting to.
Yeah, one of the yeah, but no, he's a fun guy, and he knows what he wants to do, and for you to get connected with him like that, being able to throw your songs, who says that next great horror franchise doesn't come out, and all of a sudden that next great horror franchise theme doesn't come from Bo Haas? I'm just saying,
Cindy Lou and I have been really a wonderful team writing machine, where as we go along, we're like, oh, wait, oh, that doesn't fit. Let's do this part. No, oh, let's do, and we're able to adjust on the fly because we have the ability to do so in the studio, man. I told her so many times, I don't know how the hell they did this in 1930. What they do, practice for 200 hours straight and then do one cut on wax. Imagine those great guys. Imagine those incredible, great composers from back in the day having the technology that we have today. I've said it before, and I'll say it again: the greatest music has not yet been written, and but we're on a mission for God.
Yeah, you're doing the Lord's work, damn it.
Right, and even if it's Halloween stuff, Halloween music is like a roller coaster, right?
Yeah, right. It really is. I mean, you guys might write the next great Halloween love song. You never know.
Yeah, and quite frankly, out of the 20 that's out there, we're going to probably push that album to national, international distribution because it is so good that we sit back and go, holy shit, we did that, And it all, bam, it just came pouring out like taking your finger out of the dike, man. Water was in.
Yeah.
And we let it do it. You know, I have a saying called the music is the river and the river is love. And you got to dive into the river and just you know, you don't get wet standing on the bank looking at it. You got to dive in, man.
Yeah.
You know, like anything, you know, if you don't dive in with all your heart, you're doing it half-assed, you know.
Yeah, ain't that the damn truth? You know, if you have a passion, like you said, if you got a passion for something, man, chase it. Don't be afraid of it. I mean, it might bite you in the ass in the long run, but you know, hey, we've all tripped and stumbled along the way. You know.
Yeah, life is 50-50 at best. It's either good or it ain't, you know. Either the song's good or it ain't. You know, either they like it or they don't. You know, it's 50-50. And so as long as you know what your odds are going in, hell, just go for it to come out both guns blazing.
Yeah.
And see what you get, you know.
Oh yeah, see, you know, whatever happens, happens. That's kind of my new motto for 2025. Whatever happens, happens. You know, good,
right?
bad, indifferent, whatever. You know, just fuck it. You know, just go
Right.
for it. Something I was going to ask you about that. Oh, this isn't what I was going to ask you. Squirrels. I got squirrels running around in my brain. So
yeah, man.
We got it up here in the background. 2025 nominee for basically what looks like every damn category under the sun for the ISSA.
Right.
When does this happen? When does this award ceremony and whatnot?
It's towards the end of August 23rd, and our partner Wolf Milestone, superstar out of Canada. He's like Merle Haggard in Canada. He's big, you know, monster big, and the three of us has joined together and created Bohas Music and Bohas Records. So we, out of necessity, had to become the record company. And so we're going to be. I've been invited to be one of the new Branson Independent Opry board of directors with Tim Kelly out there in Branson. What Tim told me is that, you know, all of the superstars are dead. They're gone. There's nobody in Branson except cover shows and tribute bands, but there's no original amazing artists anymore. And he stumbled on to about 10, 12 years ago, the independent movement. I call it the indie wave. That's a term I call it because it reminds me of the early 60s when we had folk music and rock and roll music and still Frank Sinatra was on the air and all these different genres were on AM radio at the time, but it hit us like a wave of all this new thing, you know, the British invasion and all that. And I see that coming. I see that coming in the independent market now because, you know, before everybody was they're just country. It's like, wait a minute, are you artists or not? You know, can you sing more than that? And so I started really compelling people and working with people to do multi-genre things and to, you know, expand their horizons. And so Tim Kelly noticed that too, that the independent artists have actually supplanted. We have become far better, far more creative, far more diverse music than what the crapability coming out of Nashville that the big industry is pushing. You know, personally, I like Beyonce, but I don't want her, you know, dancing in front of my kids like that. You know, I want to have traditional values. So when you go to Branson, Missouri, you're hearing real country from real artists that are all independent. And these people are superstars, man. I can name a bunch of them off. I really could, that they are incredible people and incredible artists. And so Tim came up with the Branson Independent Opry, which is opening next year in March.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to have no major labels, all of these tremendous independent artists. And by the way, there's a bunch of them dropping their record companies because the deals suck so bad. I was listening to Jelly Roll on a rant saying that most of the contracts are 90-10s and some 95-5s, and it's a goat screwing from day one. And so a lot of record companies are losing their artists to the independent scene. It's far superior, far more diverse, far more energetic. The music is so much more creative. Like the stories that you and I were talking about are absolutely phenomenal. And so that Branson Independent Opry is going to open next year with all these new independent artists, and it's astonishing. So Wolf and Cindy Lou and I are going to be in Branson in August, and then from there we go on to Nashville Broadcast Radio. We do a live show there every year on the Bonnie and Kevin show there in Kitty Wells' old studio, and
Nice.
yeah, with Keith Bradford was in the band with them originally. He's an engineer there. And then, so last year we did the Nashville Hall of Fame thing and all that. Then this year we're going to do that show. And then we'll drive into Atlanta for the International Singer and Songwriter Association Awards. And that's August 23rd. And so
Nice.
people start swooping in on we start swooping in on Thursday, and man, we party as hardy as they can get without being thrown out. And, and some people have been thrown out. It ain't Jerry Lee Lewis pushing the piano in the pool, none of that, but too loud, too boisterous, too much abusive language and all that.
Hey,
So,
sometimes things happen. Yeah.
Right, man. Some people can handle their liquor and others can't.
Yeah.
If you can't handle liquor, man, go smoke one.
Yeah, and we all know that. We all know those guys that can't handle their liquor. Those are the ones that'll tell you the loudest that they can handle their liquor.
And we run into that with some singers. The more they drink, the louder they get. They start knocking people down in the back row without any equipment. And it's like, you know what? You need to learn how to use the equipment and to learn your voice, even if you're hammered. Not everybody is Meatloaf, right? So
yeah, right.
Right.
Those
right.
those Meatloaf, Ozzy, some of those the Stones, some of those guys could be completely rocked out of their minds and still put on an amazing show.
Right.
But you're not there,
right.
So stop it. Yeah.
Right. With my band Gutshot, we used to pass around old number 7. And by the end of the second state, I sounded like Mick Jagger. You couldn't understand them words, but they were still coming out. You start sounding like James Brown. Yay! And that can be fun, but
in your head, in your head, it sounds great. But what's coming out?
So good. So good. To everybody, but only to you.
Yeah, I've had some nights like that doing podcasting. Saturday nights are kind of our fun night where we cut loose and have fun and we drink and we really just we really get a little wild on Saturday nights. And I've had some Saturdays where it's like, hell, I wake up Sunday afternoon like, hell yeah, that was a fun show last night. And then I go back and listen to it. And I start scrolling through, kind of speed listening, and you get about that halfway mark, and it's just like, what the fuck language am I speaking right now?
Yeah, well, it's your party, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's my party, and I'll cry if I want to,
Yeah, right. Shaka, cheers to you, brother. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, I gotta say that the Branson Opry sounds really cool because, and I don't know if I'm just getting old and grumpy or what it is, but man, I remember being younger and growing up. And playing at the Grand Ole Opry was like huge. That was a huge thing for somebody to do. Now it just seems like they put everybody and their mama. Yeah, now they just put everybody and their mama on the Grand Ole Opry. And it's just why is this jerk off at Grand Ole Opry? Like it's lost its prestige almost, in my opinion. And I'm not in the music world, so I mean this is just me speaking as a fan. But it seems like
but that's true. Fans know. Fans know, and it's completely gotten out of control. It's not the Mecca that it used to be. These guys are playing for $30 a set plus tips. You never get anywhere. They're stealing all your music. Everybody you meet in Nashville who's a clerk at Payless or at Walmart, they're a singer-songwriter. They can't get no work. And so this is the biggest venue that has ever existed for independent artists ever, and it's the only one of its kind.
Nice.
And they're I tell you what, they're on a level with some of the greatest that have ever played. And right off the top of my head, I can nail 10, 12 of these people that the hold an audience down for the weekend. I'm telling you. And what's really funny is, Cyndi Lauper. Girls just want to have fun.
Yeah. Cyndi Lauper. Yeah.
Yeah, she's switched to an independent artist. She's doing country and western only, and she's real good. And her band is great.
It
And
doesn't
so we're
surprise me.
trying to entice Cindy Lauper to be. Oh, she's an astonishing artist, and she can really sing some country. And so lo and behold, we're trying to get her to open the opening weekend, bring in a big name,
there you go.
but it's as an independent artist.
Yeah.
And there's several others out there that are starting to be attracted to this movement going on, because I got to tell you, never before in history, as independent artists, have we ever had the platforms that internet stations like yourself have now provided. It's never existed before for people that, right? You used to have to tour all over the damn country to, some small bars. I wrote a song about that because this place ain't all that.
Yeah.
Wait till you hear that one. The whole chorus is the hook, man.
Nice.
The bartender's slow and the music is flat, man. This place ain't all that.
I like it. I like that already. I've been into some places like that. Yeah.
Honest to God, we got lured into there saying, "Oh, everybody's played here, Billy Bob and Willie and all these people. You got to play. It's on Route 66." We went in on a Thursday night. It was a total dive that smelled like pee. Overpriced beers and the music was from like 1992, and they hadn't even upgraded yet. They weren't into the next century. and that song just came to me.
Just came to
this place and all that, right? And so you write what you live. Mm-hmm. And then I'm probably tell you 100 bands have went through the same place and thought, Jesus, how the hell did we end up here? Whose idea was to book this dive?
Right? No, I've been into places like that. I've gone to places where it's like, oh man, you got to check this band out. They're playing, Frank and Bob's Draft House or whatever. And it's like, all right, cool. I've heard a lot of good things about this band. Let me go check them out. Not realizing that the average age of this band's fan base is 75 and in a nursing home. And then you go to this dive bar where you can smell it before you walk in the door, and it's just like, they still have the same sound system from 1975, and the lighting hasn't changed.
A little crackly.
Yeah.
You got to bring your own PA.
They haven't updated to electrical yet. They're still running off. It's just like, come on, man. Like
electrical.
Maybe, maybe this band is good. I don't know, but I've had the opportunity to interview some amazing artists out of Nashville, young talent, and some of them have flat out said, I stay off of Broadway. Yeah, I could go perform 4 times a day on Broadway, but it's too commercialized anymore. Then they say the same thing, man. I've talked to people who have said, I've gotten these big contracts, from label for these big name labels, but they want to fucking bend you over and no lube. And it's just like, they say it's an 80-20, 90-10. And it's just like, so I'm going to make all this music and you're going to get rich off of me. And then what? So they stay
90-10 after expenses. It's 90-10 after expenses, which means you got to pay off all them expenses. Any money they front you, they want you to go to the Bahamas to do a video, you owe $10,000. You want to do this, you owe $100,000. And when you pay all that back, then the 90-10 kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
Not until then.
Yeah. And
so it's a goat story from day one these days.
Yeah.
And they don't want. Let me tell you something. The big boys anymore, you send them CDs or cassettes in the back. It goes in the round file. They got no. If they don't like the cover, they ain't listening to none of the music. It almost has to be a personal recommendation because they don't do the work no more. They don't go, into the Fillmore East like the old days, or the Fillmore West, or the theater in LA. I can't remember the name. They don't go there. What they really want is for somebody to say, "Hey, man, I got these guys. They're pre-packaged. They're ready to go. Their shit don't stink. It's just plug and play. And then they go, okay, well, send me a couple 3-song demo, you know, and so you got a 2 slow and a fast, or 2 fast and a slow, whatever. And hopefully they'll think, yeah, you know, I can put dollars in my pocket behind that, and then they just turn it over to a distributor. They're done with it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Unless you know, the younger you are, the more money they want to give you. Isn't that funny? Because they know
Yeah.
it's going to take a long time to pay it back. You know, the older you get as an older dog, man, they're like, hey, you know, one hit wonders are okay if we can make a buck on it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
My daddy. Yeah, my daddy used to say, if it doesn't make sense, there's a buck in it.
Grandpa used to tell me all the time, bullshit walks and money talks. So you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, one of my original managers, Robbie Witkowski, who managed Little Jimmy Dickens and Whisperin' Bill Anderson and all that stuff, and he told me, Hoss, he said, you know what? Unless they send you a contract with half the money up front, it's all bullshit. You know, he was pretty strict about how business was done.
Yeah,
it was either done right or it wasn't going to get done. You know, that's what he told me.
So, Chaka, to answer your question, would it be possible to get a little spoiler on what movie Bo is working on the soundtrack for? Well, he was on the soundtrack for Daylight to Dark, which we did the watch party almost 2 months ago. We had Jake, the director, Roland, the writer, and a couple of the actors. Bo's done music for that movie, and he's also on the new upcoming movie, which I started the show out. Soul Chapel?
Soul's Chapel. Yeah, the real place, Soul's Chapel, there in Kentucky. Got quite a sordid history in it, man, and a lot of it's real. I mean, there's a part where we sing about, you know, the called the Reverend, and the Reverend started preaching Satan from the pulpit full of demons.
Oh, is that song from that movie?
Yes, it is. And the crowd hung him from the rafters in church and then buried his body under the floorboards. And I sang that, man. I sang history. And it's, once again, it's creep central, you know. It'll make you hide behind the furniture in the dark.
I didn't realize that was from Soul's Chapel. I like that song. I do like that song.
Yeah, we did the entire soundtrack for Soul's Chapel.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, like I said, you know, I'm big into, like, I don't know. I don't know if this is like part of my love for Halloween or what, but I'm really big into the paranormal and, like, you know, like the true stories behind. I'm more intrigued by the history, but yeah, you know, I would love to go visit some of these places and maybe get to see a ghost or hear stuff or have stuff happen to me or whatever. Good night, Sammy. Sammy said good night there in the comments.
Oh, I know Sammy. Hi, Sammy. Good night.
But like, I'm really big into the paranormal. So, like, when Jake said this is based off of a real place, I'm like, hello, I'm in. And then now hearing you say, because I like that song, The Reverend, and I was like, this is really cool. But now to hear you say it's based off of events that happened in this place, like, that even adds that extra layer to it.
Yeah. You remember the TV series Ghost Hunters when it first came out? I just loved it. And so did my sons and stuff. And there was this place in Iowa where a tornado had gone through there while the children were at recess and killed a buttload of them. They didn't get them in the building in time, and it damaged the building and stuff. And we were doing the EVPs there because a lot of people that worked there, custodians at night and construction people, said they had some really unnerving experiences where they just left the building. The hell with it. All the lights were on. They left, you know. And so we thought, well, let's go and do some EVPs. And there was this one cafeteria where people had some really foreboding feelings of dark, you know, and while painters were painting, the paint strip would rip off and be thrown at them. They're like, okay, we're leaving. And there was an upstairs area. Yeah, there was an upstairs area where the tornado would actually hit and stuff. And so we sat up there, and they did, you know, I had all the keys to the building. We locked them boys in there. Nobody's in there, you know. And they were asking all the questions you hear on Ghost Hunters, you know, why are you here? What are you doing? We're not here to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And they didn't hear a damn thing. And so the next day we ran back to EVP, and they said, you know, why are you here? And this little tiny boy's voice, maybe 5, said, it's pleasant here. And man, the hair on my head stood up. It scared the living snot out of me. And then there was then we were down in the cafeteria, asking what you're doing here. And he's like, why are you here? Was it? And this real gruff voice on the tape went, inspecting. We're like, oh, okay, inspect away, buddy. Go ahead and
Inspect away.
Right. And then about 3 years later than that, I organized a limousine where everybody dressed up like vampires and vampiresses, and we toured all these different bars looking for food. I mean, for fun. And we went to a couple of graveyards at midnight, and took pictures of us running around in their shit. And I never thought anything about it. And then about 3-4 days later, I decided I was going to just look at some of these pictures. And I'm scrolling through some of these pictures, on my phone. And son of a bitch, if there wasn't a little girl looking over a headstone at me from behind me, I about wet myself. And I'd heard of stuff like that, but to see it on your camera, on your phone, really gooned me out. And then later on, somebody said, "Well, who's this guy?" I said, "What are you talking about?" And it looked like a guy in a Civil War era type thing, standing, a few gravestones over. So we literally went back the next day, and sure enough, the little girl had died on this one stone, but the other one, the guy was a real son of a bitch, and he basically got shot and killed by the sheriff, and they buried him there too. So, you can creep yourself out enough to like, okay, that's enough. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, I'm good. Chaka said, definitely got a new fan here. But great show, Glick, like always.
Yeah,
man,
that's
love
great.
you, brother. Have a good day, man. Be safe out there. Enjoy your Coors Light and Frosted Mini Wheat. Chaka's a good friend of the network.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's me. Like
Excellent.
I want to go to all the haunted houses, the real haunted houses or haunted locations. Like I want to go. I want to see it. I want to hear it. I want something to happen. We have some locations here in my little town that I like to try to visit when I can. Nothing's ever happened to me personally, but I've had other experiences. Like I used to work in the for OSU, the Ohio State University, the medical center, and the property we were at was the old Harding Hospital, which was Warren G. Harding's brother. President Harding, his brother, ran a loony bin, and he was one of the top doctors in the country at that time that was doing some experimental stuff, lobotomies and this, that, and the other thing. And that place is like,
yeah, I've had 2 of those. They feel fine. I'm fine.
Yeah, everything's fine. That place is like super fucking haunted. I've had contractors that would refuse to go into, buildings. We were down in the basement where they
turn on the tape and run away, man.
Check because it was active. Like it was an active, crazy. They had all their buildings. They had a kids ward, a teenagers ward, the adult stuff, and everything like. It was active up until OSU bought it, and then OSU bought it, and they moved everything down to campus. And it literally looked like in some of the buildings that weren't in use, it was like they were there one day and never came back. There were files. There was like down in the basement, one of the buildings was like all this old, like OG medical equipment and stuff. And like, it was just, I always looked forward to getting, when I was on call, to getting called out there in the middle of the night. And everybody was like, "You're fucking weird, dude." And I'm like, if something's going on, I want to be here. I want to see it.
That's a supernatural battery.
Yeah, right. Like if something's happening, damn it, I want to see it. I want to catch me a ghost. I want to hang out.
Yeah, in one of those Ghostbusters episodes, they got called out to a famous restaurant in the San Francisco Bay Area, and they went in there, investigated, and instantly they started having all kinds of paranormal stuff, sounds, smells, visions and mirrors in the ladies' bathroom and stuff, and they busted them because it was all phony. They set it up on purpose. They had 3D cameras into the mirrors. They were injecting smells. They were making these sounds that people would hear.
I think I remember that.
They got really mad. Did they get caught? You remember that show?
Mhm.
I don't know. Anyways, they got really mad that they got called out to investigate the place, and it was all basically like Disneyland. Like going into the haunted mansion there, which I love that place. I love the haunted mansion. Every time I go to Disneyland or Disney World, that's Pirates of the Caribbean, haunted mansion. I'm done. I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But-
they were really upset that people set it up. So when I just saw, at Binion's Casino, I wonder, if it's like that place where they set up the supernatural experience for you, and it feels real. I mean, it feels creepy until you realize hidden cameras, hidden sense, hidden this, blah blah blah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's unfortunately it's very easy to fake that stuff. At the end of the day, but it's
Anymore,
still but at the same time, it reminds me of like the old Scooby-Doo cartoons, when they would figure it out, and Velma would jinkies, this is how, he's got a projector in the wall and zip lines, and then they're gonna unmask the bad guy. That's what it reminds me of. Like, yeah, it's in good fun,
right?
but don't promote your
Turns out
business
to be
as
it's only old Mr. Stevens.
yeah, yeah, right,
Right.
And I
Or say
wouldn't
it's
have
the
got
haunted experience.
yeah,
Call it a
yeah,
haunted experience,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And he would have gotten away with it too had it not been for you nosy kids, you pesky kids and your dog.
Right.
Yeah, like, yeah,
Yeah, I love
sell
Scooby-Doo, man.
sell it as a haunted experience where no, yes, the place is quote unquote haunted, but we're gonna amp it up a little bit. We're gonna make sure
And
you experience something.
and embellish a little bit, right? Make sure you have a
Mhm.
good experience or a creepy experience, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's
One
like
thing with the Scooby-Doo, with Scooby, a friend of mine wrote that song Scooby-Doo. He actually
oh
got an
really?
Emmy or some. Yeah, man, he co-wrote it and all that stuff. Him and a fellow named Clifford Thigpen, they're out of North Carolina, South Carolina, somewhere in there. And they actually penned that song. And he'd done a lot of country and western work before that. But one thing that I could never do that Scooby and Shaggy did is eat a damn sandwich about 3 feet tall.
I know. So I don't know if you've ever watched the show. I don't know if you've ever watched the show
No, never.
Supernatural. With it,
Love
and
it.
so I was watching it when it first came out, and I made it to like season 11, season 12, and then I kind of fell off.
Right.
And then I've tried to restart it several times since. Well, recently I restarted watching it. Now I got a lot of free time on my hands currently, so I'm just I'm flying through it. And I'm like, season 15, here I come.
Yeah, we
I'm a
loved
little
it. We
over
loved it.
I'm a little over halfway done with season 14.
Right.
Like, I'm finally gonna finish Supernatural. But the Scooby Natural episode, when Dean made the sandwich and
Yeah.
and he was like, "Look at me, Sam! Look at me! Look how far my mouth opens!" I was like, "Yeah, that would be great to do. Have that big monster sandwich."
Awesome.
Yeah, Scooby and Shaggy were
Yeah,
always
that's great.
as a kid, and even now I'm an adult, and I still watch. I love the Scooby movies. I love if I'm scrolling through, like, I'm bored and I need something to watch, and nothing's really just, sometimes you do that doom scrolling on all the streaming sites we have, and I'll come across Scooby, and I'm like, screw it, I'm watching Scooby-Doo because Shaggy and Scooby are my spirit animals. I love those guys. Like,
Right.
I
A
wanted
friend of
to
mine
be
in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, he literally reconstructed the Shaggy van and
nice.
made it exactly from the cartoon. Unbelievable, and it's a showstopper. He parks and people want to talk about it, so it's pretty cool.
I seen a meme that had the Mystery Machine, the Batmobile, and Baby the Impala from Supernatural. and it was they were parked in a parking lot, and the meme said, "I don't know what's going on here, but I'm getting the fuck out of town."
All they needed was the Monster Mobile, man. That would have done it right there.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So no, that's that like just fun, because not everything scary has to be bad. sometimes scary stuff is just fun. Like, and I think that's what Scooby showed us as kids was like, it's not always bad. Yeah, we can have fun with it.
Right. And there were some people that did some really cool things like that. Don Knotts and the Ghost and Mr. Chicken. I played that every year at Halloween
Nice.
because it's so fun. Laughing through the whole thing, If you haven't seen it, the Ghost and Mr. Chicken in a long time, absolutely 100% guaranteed pure fun. I mean, from the beginning to the end, it'll make you laugh your socks off.
Oh yeah, I might have
And
to
Don
check that
Knotts
out,
with
bro.
that goofy look. My goodness.
Don Knotts.
Oh,
is
you
one of those
haven't
classic.
seen it yet?
I'm sure I've seen it. It's probably just been
Right.
I know I've seen it. It's been a long time, but I'll have to add it to my Halloween repertoire.
Yeah, he did it right about the time the Andy Griffith Show was going off the air. The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, and then later on, he did one about the Incredible Mr. Limpet, where he turned into a fish. But the Ghost and Mr. Chicken is one of my favorites. So many great one-liners out of there. He thinks somebody's been murdered, and the guy just wife clubbed his drunken ass over the head with a board is what happened. And then he goes running to the place. Oh my God, murder, murder, murder. And then he's the laughing stock of the town because of it. And there's a haunted mansion in it, and just absolutely 5 stars.
Oh yeah. Now that's what I like about going to like you said, you and Cindy used to do the haunted house. I love going to haunted houses around Halloween time. They're fun. We got one here. If you're into like Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters or stuff like that, you may have seen, they've actually been here multiple times. We have the old Licking County Jail here where I live at, here in Ohio.
Wow.
They do tours and stuff all year round. You can walk through it, but it's got a history. It's got a lengthy history, and it's haunted like you wouldn't, like you wouldn't believe. But every year there's a company for the last several years now. They do haunted houses in there, Halloween time, but they also do Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Christmas, Easter. So they're like haunted houses,
themed
events, and they're always fun. Like Valentine's Day is like, was it last year? I think it was for Valentine's Day, and it was Love Sucks. So it was a vampire thing. And when you first walk in, you're met up with a vampire hunter, and she lost her partner.
Right.
So you got to work your way through the jail, and of course, they had the scary vampires, and then the sexy vampires that would, like, when you were walking through, they would hit on the guys and stuff like that. It's just fun. It's not scary. It's not super scary, but it's fun. And of course, I go in there and I'm just like, I'm ready. Like whatever's going to happen. But they have fun with it. And I try to go to all their events, but their Halloween time, it's the haunted jail. They got the warden who's dead, the ghost warden who runs around outside. And man, when he finds a target, boy, he is relentless.
Yeah, he knows how to pick on him. All of the big boys they've discovered that the Halloween stuff is like a roller coaster. And so Universal Studios, Knott's Berry Farm, the Disneyland and Disney World, all of the major amusement parks now in that period of time have realized that's a cash cow.
Oh, yeah.
When Universal Studios and Magic Mountain and all these other places realize that for about 30 days, there's some serious money to be made. I knew a fella in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, who he quit his job. He only works on his haunted house there, which is only open for about 30 days. And the line is 10 feet wide by a city block long.
Oh, yeah.
Every day for 30 days. And I started watching that, and I started putting the numbers together. That boy is putting up a bag of bank, man. He's spent the money. He's got thousands of dollars in animatronics because, people have really paid for it.
Mm.
But, when you start figuring the guy's pulling down $300K a night.
Oh, yeah.
That boy discovered what he's supposed to do.
We have a place here. It's huge. People come from all over the country to go to it. It's called, what do they? It started out as the Haunted Hoochie. Now I think it's Haunted Acres.
Uh-huh.
But when Halloween season rolls around, both sides of the road, and they're only open. What are they
Right.
open? What are they open? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think it is. But both sides of the road,
Mm.
traffic is backed up miles. You know, you get in there, they got a big stage, so usually they'll have acts while you're waiting in line. They'll have music, they'll have performances, whatever. And in the last few years, man, they've opened up. They've got like a haunted barn. They've got the field, the original attraction. There's so I
If
would
you build
love
it,
to
they
see
will
what
come.
yeah, I would love to see what they make
Yeah.
because
Well,
and then they got
outside of Sandusky, Ohio, they got a big
it's
blow up at Sandusky.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh
and they run them through there. They run them through there like pigs through a turnstile.
yeah, that's the haunted well, I think that's what it's called, Haunted Acres now. It's in Pataskala. It's actually just right down the road from me. Um they got food trucks that pull in there. They got vendors. I think they've changed. I think they several years back they switched it up to where you could buy alcohol. And like I mean, they're doing some serious and it's fun. It's scary as hell. It's
Right.
fun. They got actors when you're waiting in line that are fucking with people when you're going around because they you get in and now it's set up like it's almost like an amusement park almost where you go in and you're not waiting in
Right.
line like back now you can
Right.
go in and you can watch whoever's on stage, you can go get food, you can go do this, you can go do that, and then they got the attractions, but they've got actors that are walking around, they're doing their thing, man. It's like holy crap. I would love to see what you profit. Now I know you're putting as much money, I know you're putting a ton of money out there, but I would love to see what you profit for this 30 to 45 day period that you're open, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And who doesn't want that, right? Who doesn't want to have those scary experiences and enjoy it? When there's a lot more fun when there's a bunch of people getting scared the shit out of it at the same time. There's a camaraderie that comes with it. And when they're coming out of the building, and they're all hooly gooly with it, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm next.
yeah, you make you make new friends, and when you come out of the experience, you're like, we survived. We weren't in any real danger, but we survived together. We made it.
Nothing like being chased with a chainsaw, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like that stuff is like from right up your right up your alley with some of the music I've heard and stuff like that. That's what's cool is like I could see you guys up on stage at Haunted Acres, like entertaining the crowd while they're waiting and doing whatever because you have that
Right.
appeal about you.
Yeah, we wrote a song that's pretty scary, and it's actually called "People Are the Real Monsters," and we go into why. All of those scary movies and stuff actually came from some pretty horrible experiences that weren't necessarily supernatural.
Yeah, right.
Right. And so we've had a wealth of experience, a wealth of background. And able to put all these things together, so we're not really spring chickens going in. We're pretty well versed in what we like to do and how we want to do it. And we asked Jake, okay, what do you want for this scene? Direct. You direct, and we'll do it. Just like actors, we'll put the music to what you want. And that's a real kick in the pants when you get to collaborate with somebody on a project. And okay, I need this. Okay, we're doing it. And give them because sometimes give them a couple of options.
Yeah, because he has a vision as a director and as as an actor or whatever, and then you're given a project, and you might have a different vision, but to be able to come together and go, okay, this is what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? And being able to mesh those two things into one is really cool. And like I said, I mean, the horror genre, as far as movies go, is my favorite genre. People ask me all the time, "What's your favorite movie?" What genre? Horror. What genre of horror? What are you talking about?
Right.
What do you mean? Horror is one of the only genres of movies that has sub genres. from the psychological to the horror to the gore to the comedy to the whatever,
To the sci-fi.
Yeah, sci-fi.
One of the scariest movies. Yeah, one of the scariest movies I ever saw when it first came out was Aliens. Man, that when that thing jumped out of and that damn thing was cutting people around, and that's sci-fi, but it was horror. And the original Thing. And then later on, when Kurt Russell reprised the movie with the Thing, with all these morphing creatures coming, I mean, that was sci-fi and scary as shit. So you're right, man. These subgenres, even like creepy people, you think of The Shining, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And then, all these, the other one, what's the one, the Birds by Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh yeah,
sounds innocuous enough. It's birds, right?
Yeah,
and then of course following that up, I don't know why it's escaping me, with The House on the Hill, and what's his name's killing people. His mother's still in the
Psycho.
rocking chair, and
Psycho, Norman Bates,
with the stabbing scene in the shower.
Yes,
what's
Psycho? Psycho, Norman Bates.
Psycho with the now we're talking about a psycho genre of horror.
Yeah.
And you're right. There's a lot of different angles that are not necessarily supernatural, but leave you walking away from there, hoping you go to sleep at night, not thinking about it.
And I'll tell you what, I'm 43 years old, and that original Aliens, the thing jumping out of the stomach and the face suckers, that still fucks me up. I'm like, nah, man, I can't. Because that's no warning. It just happens. Like look, you gotta
Ridley Scott. Yeah, that director Ridley Scott did not tell the actors that was going to happen.
Oh shit!
He caught them completely. He had them. They were just standing around. They didn't know what was going to happen. They had no scene saying it was going to jump out of the stomach. None of that. So he caught them completely off guard with it jumping out. And of course, they had the camera on all the different Yaphet Kotto's face and Sigourney Weaver's face and all these famous people that were in that movie. And so he caught them completely off guard, man. And that's a serious piece of direction to me, is when the actors don't know what's coming.
Yeah, no, that's like in The Shining. A lot of those scenes, Stanley Kubrick didn't let Shelley Duvall know what was going on. So like a lot of those scenes when she was 100% terrified. Like when Jack's coming through the door, she had no idea. She was legit terrified. Like she's done interviews.
Yeah,
and there's been things
completely
where she said
candid.
that movie. She said that movie really messed her up psychological. Words are hard. Mentally.
Yeah.
She said that movie really messed her up mentally because there was just a lot of stuff she wasn't prepared for or she didn't know. And those scenes where she's terrified, that was real. That wasn't fake. That wasn't acting. That was legit terror.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And that's a great piece of direction to surprise the actors with. And there's a lot of other movies that where the director, Alfred Hitchcock was the master of horror. I have over 100 films of his that are silent movies before he started getting into the genre of horror, but he was already on that path of messing with your mind. And then his TV show was placid by comparison as to some of the movies he did.
Yeah, I am a fan of Alfred Hitchcock. He was kind of a master of the psychological mind fuck.
Yeah, the macabre.
Yeah, man. I am a fan, and I got to give Stephen King credit where it's due, because he's very good at that too. He's also very good at just scaring the absolute living hell out of you for no fucking reason other than the fact that he's Stephen King and he can.
Yeah, and I found over watching certain things that he has morphed 2 or 3 stories into one and then made it his own. Like Rose Red was a compilation of the original I'm trying to think of the name of the The Haunting. The Haunting, all black and white. You never saw a ghost. You never saw a monster. Scared the bejesus out of you, anyways. You
Mm-hmm.
know, he kind of did that and put together the Winchester Mystery House and combined those into a movie called Rose Red, which was pretty scary.
Yeah.
But you never really saw monsters. It just creeped you out, man, because of the way they directed it and threw it right in your face at the, some things you can hear it coming because the music leads you up to it. And
Yeah.
sometimes they stop playing the music and you're like, uh-oh.
Uh-oh. And sometimes
What's going
they don't start
on?
playing the music until you've already got the shit scared out of you, and then the music kicks in.
Right. Right. Da, 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 da.
I mean, you go back to Psycho. You just had what's her name in the shower doing her thing, and then all of a sudden, it was like, whoa! Like, I was not expecting that, and I watched that as a kid. First time I watched Psycho, I watched it as a kid, so it was just like, oh, cool, naked lady in the shower. What's going on? And all of a sudden, like a Norma Bates is stabbing her
Right.
to death, and that damn noise is just, oh man, that's stuck in my head for years.
I got to go to that original set on Universal Studios where they filmed it, and that house was a miniature. It was about the third of the size of a normal house, but with the camera,
The way
pulled
they
back and
shot
stuff,
it,
of course, looks pretty big, in the movie. Yeah. And so the magic of Hollywood, man, it's really true. It's good stuff.
old school Hollywood tricks and stuff for you. I love that stuff. I get excited for that kind of stuff, and I think that's what really got me excited for your style of music is because you're right along that line, man. And you do a little bit of everything, which is cool too, because it's like you could create a Bohas playlist with nothing but your music, and every other song could be something different. You're not going to get the same style.
Yeah, we've got about 1,200 songs in our playlist right now, and I've recorded almost 40 albums internationally from all over the place. Every kind of style and genre you can imagine. But we're gonna have another Halloween video coming up this year, and we may use excerpts from Soul's Chapel or whatever to do that. But we're also going to write some new music. But I really would like to hear your feedback after I send you music from the Haunted House, man. I think if that's what you like, it's your cup of tea, brother. You'll drink it up, man. It's pretty crazy.
It might wind up being my Halloween playlist because that's one of my favorite things to do is every Halloween when I'm passing out candy to the neighborhood, I always have Halloween music blasting in the background. So I mean, I could, it might wind up on that playlist where I'm playing the Halloween music and stuff. And I love getting new music. I love being introduced to stuff. And somebody that I interviewed on here, James Luker, who's become like a little brother to me. That's the cool thing about doing this show is that I try to stay in contact with people as much as I can. I know their schedule, my schedule, whatever, but I try to stay in contact with people as much as I can. But I've formed some really good friendships, and James is like, dude, you need to do reaction videos to music. And I'm like, I'm not a reaction guy. You know what I mean? I'll tell you it's awesome. I'll tell you I like it, or I'll tell you that it's dog shit, but I'm not really put the camera on, listen to the music, and react guy.
Right.
And he's like,
that's unfair. You got to be able to digest it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing. Once again, we're kind of circling back towards the internet and all these great internet radio stations like yourselves and the ability to, do these interviews and stuff is that you create a network of people who can become friends. And you'd like to see where their careers go. We're so excited about people that we've taken under our wing as a protege and doing stuff. A couple of years back, not that long ago, I did an album, the whole album with Roland Jewett called Croonin' and Swoonin'. And we did all the cover songs from back in the day, Dino and Frank and Mel Torme and, Bob Goulet and all those different great guys. And we're going to do another one called Croonin' and Swoonin' again. And I've been working on it for about 6 months now. I'm writing all original songs in that vein.
Hell yeah.
Of the old crooners.
I do love me some
And
crooners.
yeah, once in a while, it just fits your mood. You
Yeah,
know, music is mood music, man.
yeah, man.
You get
Yeah,
into a mood.
yeah,
There's some days I got to listen to Three Dog Night, and there's some days I got to listen to Led Zeppelin 3, and some days
yeah,
I'll get hooked on my Beatles albums.
yeah,
It's a beautiful thing, music. It really is, the way that it has this galactic interconnectivity that strikes us all.
yeah.
It's
Nah,
just
that's
astonishing.
it. Just yeah, that's how it is. Just depends on my music, and that was something Roland and I talked about when I had him on here. I did not expect to hear when I was going through his playlist of songs. I did not expect him to do crooners, and then I listened to it, and I was like, "Holy shit, he's really fucking good at this! Like, this is
Yeah.
awesome!" It was really good. But yeah, man,
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
my
It really
my
is.
yeah, my mood or just whatever. Like I said yesterday, I was at the lake, and fortunately, Memorial Day weekend, I picked the right lake. And I went to, and there was literally I was just hanging out on the beach, and there was like maybe 8 other people there other than me, because I know where everybody was yesterday.
Wow.
They were out at Buckeye Lake because they were all out on their boats and jet skis and everything like that. And I was like,
Right.
man, I'm hoping there's not a lot of people there. I know it's Memorial Day weekend. I know it's the first day of summer, and there wasn't. So like I said, I listened to the new Morgan Wallen album. Not the biggest fan of Morgan Wallen, but I do like some of his music. But I do love this new album.
Sure.
And then right after it got done, YouTube switched from that over to a 2 hour and some odd minute playlist of 80s hair band ballads. And I was like,
Wow.
this is what I need in my life right now. It clicked something just right, and that's what I had in my ears. All the 80s hair bands, and it was just like, hell yeah, man. Like, I haven't listened to this stuff in
Right.
fucking forever. And got to
Well,
listen
it's a
to
time
that.
machine. It's a time machine.
Then from that playlist it went into another playlist of 80s rock bands, and it was like Bon Jovi and all these bands.
U2.
Yeah, U2 and I know not quite the 80s, but they kind of stumble into that era, like Guns N' Roses and stuff. And I'm like, hell yeah, man, this is a perfect fucking beach day music playlist. Let's go. So it just kind of hit my mood just right, and I was like, hell yeah. Hashtag sunburn worth it.
That's great.
But
Right.
yeah, you never know.
Those days off when you're able to just focus, let your mind go, not think about anything else, and just hear that music. It transcends some time and reality. It really does. And we live for those moments. Sometimes we write stuff and we listen back and we're like, holy shit, we wrote that. We done good.
We done did good.
But, when you like listening to your own music and you're still impressed by it, or like, whoa, where did we come up with that? It's really a beautiful thing. Very super self-satisfying. It's one thing to think you're good. It's another thing to hear it and you go, holy shit, that's really good.
Shit. I'm so good I had these belts made.
Right. It's funny that you say that. My friend Michael Bear Clare used to be on the pro wrestling circuit out of Nashville. He was called Dr. Dre. And Michael's about, I don't know, 6'6", 6'8". I don't know. He's this huge guy and he used to wear these a big mohawk down the middle and giant glasses and wear like a white lab coat. And he battled all of those famous guys from back in the day, man. And it's hard to believe, he was Chet Atkins' personal understudy for over 10 years. He was on the road with Steve Miller Band as one of their primary guitarists, and with the Frizzels and all these famous people. And here he has this dual personality of being a pro wrestler bashing chairs on each other. And now he owns his own studio out of Iowa, MBJ Studios. And still a hell of a musician, and still knows all those cats, man. Everybody from Kenzie Shibuya to I'm trying to think of the big Hispanic fella, but anyways, yeah, he was there with all of them, Hulk Hogan, all that. And but I love to see the kind of dual talent in people where they can do one thing and have this other whole side gig that's pretty kick ass, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're multi-talented like that, like I always joke around like I do this show because I can't now I like to think I can sing when I'm in my car or when I'm in the shower or sometimes if I've had one too many Miller Lights, I'll go live on TikTok and sing. But I can't carry a tune in a bucket and I can't play an instrument. I got a guitar sitting back here. I've had this guitar for like 20 some years and I can do this.
Nice.
That's all I can do with it.
Wow, you're tearing that up, man.
I
You're
know,
ripping
right?
it.
it holds hats more than
There's
anything else.
a few instruments. There's a few instruments here behind me, the Martin and the Gretchen, and you know the all the famous one, and then to my left there's another 6 guitars and a banjo on this wall, and you know all, and then the studio in there's electronic drums and the conga drums and all that stuff. We if we don't have it, you don't need it. If it's horns, you got to bring your own. Yeah, if it's horns, you got to bring your own because I ain't spitting through them things, you know. But yeah, it's fun having a studio where everything is right at hand. You know, you got a rip going. You're like, huh, what's this? And in the studio, all I got to do, quite frankly, is get in one good rip, and then we just keep looping that son of a gun. Sounds like I'm good all the way through. No, I ain't. You know, I'm a piece player. I play by the piece.
Yeah, there you go. I seen the banjo back there.
It's a lot of fun.
I seen the banjo back there. I love the. I grew up listening to bluegrass. Always been a big fan of bluegrass, and the banjo is so diverse because obviously you can do the fun banjo, but you can also go real creepy, real kind of Southern Gothic style with a banjo right now, and
yeah, like Deliverance, dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Right above that curtain, there's a mandolin, and over here's a bunch of wackadoodle stuff, and the pedal steel in the corner, and then we got some gold albums on the wall from stuff that we've done over here, and
hell yeah, just some gold albums, whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
you know, and whatever. We built a studio. The recording booth on the other side of where I'm at is a 2-story tower, so I can go up into that tower, and it's an amazing writing medium up there. I don't know what it is, but you go up there and you just start getting flooded with stuff. It's got 3 windows all the way around, so you can look at wildlife or just mountains. The only thing you can see out my windows is forest as far as the eye can see. There ain't no structures. We're in a no-fly zone. We got no planes, trains, or no automobiles, and so it's really conducive to writing. And then of course you know you go downstairs and record something. So it's been a super blessing, and we've learned to master the remote recording, something we've done for a decade now with artists from all over the world, and we literally have them record raw vocals, nothing to it, absolutely nothing, and then we take it from there. We like to build things from scratch, you know. And anytime you get too many cooks in the kitchen, it ain't what we did. You know, we don't allow anybody to co-produce or sit in here and tell us what to do or any of that stuff. We're too busy for that. They got to go somewhere else. So what we turn out is radio ready product. We have a saying, it's on the other side. You can't see it from here. It says, if you don't, let me see what it exactly it says. If you don't, if you don't expect perfection, you receive mediocrity.
Oh,
and
wow.
So note for note, word for word, line for line, we go old school. And it, you know, if it takes us 100 hours to do a song, that's what it takes to make absolutely perfect. We don't use you know, any auto tunes or pitch selections or all that stuff. If you can't hear it, you can't do it, you know. Otherwise you're letting the AI do everything for you and stuff. And we love AI for doing graphics on videos and stuff like that. That's a wonderful tool, but as far as music is, it lacks the the personal experience, the personal emotions, the personal touch. So yeah, we've said, man, you guys are so good. It sounds like you're using AI. No, no, we don't. We
No.
we're not clever enough for that yet. When we can always do what we do. You know, we got enough experience. Like I said, I've been at this since 1966, and you know, my first recording was with guys who didn't even know I existed, and it turned out
Yeah.
to be Jesse Cullen Young and the Young Bloods and all that back in 1967. And so, you know, I have the experience of quote unquote been there, done that. And I
Yeah.
really rely on my background and my experience. I really do.
Mhm.
And it's coming out now. It's coming out now where we're actually writing better music than we ever have before. And
Oh yeah.
it's, you know, trial by error, you know. So
I
I see that
mean,
curtain moving behind me. I think there's a wild
yeah.
he's in
There might
there.
be a while. I was gonna say. I mean, you got
It's
almost
not
60 years.
supernatural.
There's a giant cat back there. You got almost 60 years in the business. You know, you would hope that you know what you're doing at this point.
Yeah, yeah. By God, I must have learned something. You know,
If you didn't learn anything, you've had one hell of a
at
time,
this
and
point
that's
in
all
time,
that
you hope
matters.
you learned something.
Yeah. And
Right,
if you didn't,
exactly, man.
yeah. And if you didn't, you had one hell of a time. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters, man. We're not here for a long time, but we're here for a good time. So
Right, you got to create a legacy. You know, my friend, once again, Michael Bearclair, he told me something a few years back that really stuck with me about a dozen years ago. He said, Hoss, he said, there ain't no legacy in cover tunes. You know, ain't no legacy in that. He said, you know, the real legacy is in writing original music and then other people covering your stuff, you know,
yeah,
and that is, man, that's solid gold in your heart, you know, and your, because, you know, music comes from the soul. And so when it comes back to you like that, you know, what's the old cliche? The greatest form of flattery is imitation, you know,
hmm
uh, or somebody saying, "Ah, I love that song," you know.
yeah.
So, and we're starting to get a few people like that and say, "Oh, I'd like to cover that song." Okay, go ahead on.
Okay, get it now.
Just
Come on.
don't take out who wrote it. Yeah, man. All we want is the legacy of you know, who wrote it, and and that's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Yeah, because I mean, there's been a lot of artists out there that have done amazing, and especially for the younger generation. I've had this conversation with my kids. Oh, have you heard this new song, Dad? And it's a cover, and I'm like, yeah. Hold on a second. Let me show you something, and I'll play the original for them. And they're like, "Holy shit!" And I'm like, "Yeah." You know,
Right.
some bands will do an amazing cover. There's a young lady that I've had on here a few times. She's become a very near and dear friend of not only this show and myself, but the network. The first time I had her on, I had to give her a lot of props and a lot of credit because she did a cover of Jimi Hendrix All Along the Watchtower, and she killed it.
Yeah, man. Bob
She
Dylan wrote
absolutely
it.
yeah, she absolutely killed it. And I said, for an independent artist, and especially because it was, you know, it was a few years old, and she was kind of shocked that I found it. And I was like, for you to do that and have the balls, like there's some songs where you got to really have some moxie behind you to cover. And that's one of those, in my opinion. I was like, you absolutely killed it. You own that song, and you did a fantastic job. And we've played it on the network here, and people are like, "What is this?" Or those that are older are like,
Right.
"Holy shit, that's a Hendrix song," and she killed it. You know,
Right.
like. And then there's other times where you get the flip side of the coin, and somebody covers a song, and it's just like, "Ooh, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have done that."
Yeah, like Simon Crow is, you know, that ain't your song, or you know, you need to find something that is your song.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are beautiful things. It's amazing to me how many people haven't heard of the harmonies that the Beach Boys did, or the harmonies that the Bee Gees did, and
Yeah.
they're listening to it the first time, and they're just amazed. They've never heard such a thing, you know.
Yeah.
And I've been the recipient of listening to beautiful music, basically right out of World War II, you know, with my parents. So it's a blessing to have, you know, X amount of years of experience, and then realize, huh, I'll be darned, those did add up.
Right. Yeah, no. Yeah, you talk about bands that
Now
harmonize.
they're in there, you know, when you hear the greatest of the greatest songwriters, you know,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
When you hear the greatest of the greatest songwriters, you end up, you know, learning the things that I've learned. There's 4 basic precepts in music that we do, and it's the hooks, kicks, licks, and tricks method of telling a story, and then realizing, you know, where what the hook is, and the, you know, the kicks is always about the. I tell people all the time, you know, they say, "Oh, I got a song. I want you to do a song." I say, "Well, what is it?" And they go, "Okay, well, I've only written down the lyrics. Well, do you have a tempo? A beat? No. Is it slow, medium, or fast? I don't know. Do you have a chorus? Do you have a bridge? No." I said, "Well, you got a poem.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, where's the rest of it?
You just got words on
How about
paper
you
at
come
this
up with the
point.
rest of that, and then I'll think about it. Otherwise, I'm doing all the work, and you're going to call it your song."
Yeah.
And we've had a few people do that, you know. We do everything, and then they call it their song, you know. So it's okay with us, you know. People got to scratch their head a little bit.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, sometimes that's all you can do with people. You can just go, yeah, that happened.
And you hope that they had the class to give you the kudos for, you know, putting
Yeah.
it together for them. You know, not everybody does. Sometimes people take all the credit, you know, but
yeah,
and then
exactly.
they get one shot, and then that's it with us. Pretty much, we're moving on. We're busy, you know. If we don't like it, we're busy.
Yep. Hey, I'm right there with you. You get one shot, you get one chance, you get one opportunity. Like Eminem said,
Yeah.
you screw me over, you do me dirty. I'm out. I'm good. I'm not gonna associate with you. You know?
Yeah. What's the old cliche? Once burned, twice shot. You know.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Bo, Bo, you've been amazing, brother. It was a pleasure to meet you. I do want to get ready to wrap this up. I want to play one more song. And then if you're okay with it, I want to play this song,
man.
but if you want to stick around just for a few more minutes, I'd like to. I always ask my guests for like a.
Yeah, I love
like
I love hanging out with you. Too bad we ain't closer.
I know, right? But I always ask my guests for like a final thought, you know, closing words or anything like that. So I'm gonna play one more song, and then we'll come back and wrap up, and we'll get the hell out of here. Yeah, man, I would love to have you back again down the road. Maybe after I get them couple albums and get an opportunity to listen to them, we'll invite you back, and I can give you my my opinion on what I thought of them.
Yeah. Once they release the soundtrack for Soul's Chapel, of course, we will do it. We're the record company, so we'll do it. We'll send you a copy of the Soul's Chapel soundtrack as well.
Well, we're talking about doing another watch party with Jake for Soul's Chapel. So if that comes to fruition, if that happens, we'd love to have you come up with us with Jake and yourself and whoever else wants to be a part of that. And we'll watch the movie and hang out like we did for Daylight to Dark.
Yeah, I'll bring my own popcorn. Well, I'll be on that like stink on a monkey. I promise you.
There you go. There you go. So I have I got one last song here, and then we'll be back to wrap this bad boy up. This is Bo Haas hanging out with me right here on Glick's House of Music. He's been awesome. Hopefully you guys will check out his music. You can find him everywhere, social media, whatnot, Bo Haas Music, or just type in Bo Haas, or go to our social media, and I've tagged him. He's not hard to find.
Yeah, you can buy our music. You can buy our music on Amazon too. People just go in there and they just buy shit, you know.
There you go. Yes, go buy the music. Support Bo. Give Bo your money.
Right.
So here's a little
We're
Bo Haas
only on
with
7,000 radio stations on accident.
yeah, right. Here's a little Bo Haas with "You'll Be the Death of Me."
Midnight silhouettes and shadows on the wall. Whispers in the darkness, echoes down the hall. Gleaming for blood, he's on the prowl. Eyes like burning embers pulling me in deep. In the cold nights and grays, my soul will keep. A love so haunting, yet it's all I need. You'll be the death of me, I'm holding on. You'll be the death of me, before the dawn. You'll be the death of me, it's in your eyes. This love it mortifies. Cold breath on my neck, that touch that chills the bone. In the silent whispers I hear your gentle moan. Lips that taste of sorrow wrapped in sweet despair. This dark romance, a curse I'm meant to wear. In the still of night my heart beats your name. His love's a deadly game. You'll be the death of me, I'm holding on. You'll be the death of me, before the dawn. You'll be the death of me, it's in your eyes. His love it mortifies. No place left to hide. Forever we'll confide under the moontide. Our destinies collide. You'll be the death of me, I'm holding on. You'll be the death of me, before the dawn. You'll be the death of me, it's in your eyes. Mortified.
Yeah, I did my
Got
own
you.
makeup.
Nice. Got y'all with that abrupt end is what they got you with. Bo,
Yeah,
I do
man.
want to say thank you again, man. This has been amazing. Would love to have you back here in the House of Music again to hang out with you, shoot the shit, and chat with you about more music and all that, and whatever else comes up. Because that's the cool thing about this show is I'm not your
Yeah, man.
stereotypical interviewer. I ask the questions that people want to know about, but I also just enjoy the conversation and getting to know the artist. So before we get out of here, before I do my spiel and all that jazz, let people know where they can find everything at and where they can find you at. And also, if you've got any closing thoughts or final words you want to leave the people with.
Yeah, like my album says, just do it for love. And that's all you need to make it, really. And to just stay true to yourself and just do what you got to do. Don't listen to anybody else give you direction unless that's the way you want to go. And so, collaborate, commiserate, and be with each other for the loans, just for the sole sake of being with each other, because beautiful things can come out of relationships. By the way, I noticed you had my selfie on there. I did my own makeup.
that was the video. That was the video from Facebook. Yeah, I was digging the makeup.
Yeah,
like
that song's actually. Yeah, it's actually on Daylight to Dark. That track
okay.
as
Okay.
well. So
Nice. There you go. You
so
guys
that's
got two
yeah.
songs.
You
from
have
two different movies.
right. You got one from each, and so yeah, it's been a blessing. It's really been an honor to be on your show and hang out with you, Glick. Like I said, too bad we weren't in the same state. We could find some trouble to get into. But other than that, man, it's let's go music, right?
Yeah, I'm all about getting into trouble and finding shenanigans. So shenanigans is my
Right.
middle name.
Yeah, I have a shirt that says I'm the shenanigator.
Nice. I dig it. I like it. I do want to say thank you again, Bo. Guys, if you're not already checking us out, go ahead and find us everywhere. All of our social media links, bio.link/nonsensical network. If you have a hard time finding Bo, go to our Facebook page, go to our Instagram page, our YouTube channel. I have tagged Bo and everything. So it should be easy for you guys to find it.
Yeah. We got our own website, of course, Bohas Music and Bohas Productions and blah, 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 everything.
Yep.
So we're pretty much hard not to find.
Yeah, right. You make it very easy for people to find you. That's what we do here. So, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for hanging out. Replay viewers, make sure you drop a like. Make sure you drop a comment. Help us out in that algorithm. It's free, and you can support us that way. And go check out Bo. Check out some of his music. Show him some love. Don't forget, just because this is me and I got an ego, be like, yo, Glick sent us.
Right.
So,
and thanks
right.
again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's been a pleasure. Roland and Jake, everything they said about you, 100% true. I won't tell you the bad things they said, but the good things were all true.
Well, no, those are probably true too. It's funny because a friend of mine, Huey Lewis, back in the day, he said, you got so many stories. He said, it's crazy. And I said, well, most of my lies turn out to be true. And so he wrote a whole song about that, about most of his stories turn out to be true just from that one line. And so it's a blessing to work with other people. It really is.
I think that's one of the cool things about being in the entertainment world, whether you're a musician or you're an actor or you're a director or just some jerk off podcast host, getting to meet all the different people and getting to meet people and work with people. And then, like I said, Roland and Jake told me about you and I went and listened to some of the music. And then when you and I got to talking, I'm all down for that. Anybody who knows anybody out there, whether music industry or whatever, you want to send them my way, send them my way. If they got good music, I'll bring them on. Now, I have had to be mean a couple times. Well, yeah, a couple times. It's just like, I see what you're trying to do, but maybe you should pursue a different avenue. You're not very good at it. And I don't like to be that guy, but I'm always... But I do right, love
but if you're hard to work with, we're busy.
Yeah, exactly. I do love being introduced to new people. And the same goes for you. If there's anybody you think would be a good fit on this show, send them my way. And I will gladly chat with them and we'll get them set up and scheduled, because I'm always down for meeting new people and especially getting to hear new music. Because that's my language, man. I love music. That's it. In any facet of life, whether I'm down, bad mood, grumpy, happy, whatever my mood is, music has always been the soundtrack to my life at the end of the day. And it's always my go-to.
Yeah, man.
Probably gonna listen to some music when we get off here. I'm probably gonna dive into a little some, I don't know, maybe a little bit of your category. Maybe you guys got a lot of stuff on YouTube, man. You hit me with a fun fact, and real quick before, I know we're getting ready to wrap up, real quick before we get off here. When we first started talking, you hit me with a fun fact about Buckethead.
Yes.
You want to? What was that? You want to share that?
Well, Buckethead was with Guns N' Roses for a little bit. Wears a bucket on his head with a goofy grin and all that. Mm-hmm. That man is prolific. Holy mackerel! I did a little research. I Googled it up. I looked for what artist in the last 4 years has written, created, produced, and performed more original music. And lo and behold, Buckethead came up with like 1,100 songs or something just in the last 4 years. I'm not kidding you. And then number 2 on the entire list of all things was Bo Haas. And I was ahead of Taylor Swift. So, nice. So I thought, well, it must be doing something right. Either that or maybe we're prolific too.
Yeah, no. When you told me that, I was like, wait a minute. The Buckethead? Like, I didn't know if it was going to be like some random guy that calls us. And I was like, the Buckethead, which was impressive to me, which is really cool. Yeah. I thought that was really cool because
he's an avalanche of music.
Yeah, he is, and he's beyond talented. At the end of the day, I mean, you take the goofy bucket, you take the gimmick away from him. He doesn't need that gimmick. You know, that's just a part of his personality. At the end of the day,
right, exactly. And it worked for him. So sometimes you got to stick with the brand.
Yeah, exactly. You find something that works, and sometimes you're stuck with that for life. Talking to you, John Cena, you're stuck with the jorts for life.
Right.
but no,
I'd like to be known as that guy that can sing and write anything. That would be a nice little legacy. There you go. To be known as the king of multi-genre. That'd be great.
Yeah, and another all of that. Like I said, guys, if you check out Bo, throw it on shuffle. You do not know what you might get some Halloween stuff. You can get some country stuff. You can get some Broadway stuff, some crooner. Like, you just don't know. You just have no idea. He's all over the board, and that's cool, especially for somebody like me as a music fan, and I just soak it all in, man. Like, whatever's out there, it's just give it to me, damn it. I want to hear it all. I want to listen to it all. So, no, but again, seriously, thank you so much for coming up
man.
Here.
We sing them for you.
Hell yeah. For me, you heard that here. They're singing it for me. None of y'all fuckers, just me, because I'm the most important.
The honor was ours.
Absolutely. Greatly appreciate it. Look forward to hanging out with you again, brother. That you're a part of the nonsensical family now. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. The jury's still out. But I'm gonna hit this outro. You're welcome to stick around for the outro. If you got to go, I'm not keeping you. This will kick us out and send us right backstage where we were at the beginning of the show. Thank you guys again for listening. Thank you guys for hanging out. Make sure you do your duty. Give us a follow, give us a like, give us a share, and tell your granny about us. Because yes, 9 out of 10 grannies approve.
Yeah.
The 10th one, R.I.P. Granny.
Bye for now.
Be good or be good at it.
Nonsensical network, different flavor every day. Movie talks, new flicks hitting the display. Microphone magic, musicians spill the praise. From reptiles to motorsports, burning rubber craze. Football clashes, touchdowns, epic plays. New spinning, catching on the latest phase. Gleaming cars, engines roaring up the pace. Street tales, urban stories we embrace. Tune in, every week diverse. Groove to the beats, let the rhythm immerse. Lyrics flowing, ciphers full of verse. Nonsensical network, feel the universe. Interviews buzzing, stars in the circuit. Worlds of tapestry, pieces we interpret. Hip-hop to rap, the flow never stagnant. Reptilian tales, nature's arrangement. Cars with muscle, engines with might. Motorsports roaring, speed in the night. Discussions heated, always a delight. Network of nonsense, but the vibe's just right. Tune in, wait for that beat. Flow so seamless, feeling so sweet. Urban grooves, rhythm from the street. Nonsensical network, always on repeat.